So this article was called "The Variation on a Theme by Fenner, the Pathogenesis," in other words, the cause of chickenpox. And it was from the Department of Pediatrics, University of Texas Health Science in San Antonio. And it was published in Pediatrics 1981. And there's the citation for any of you who want. I looked up this on the place that I look up articles and they didn't have it. So this was the best I could do, is to get the abstract. So this was a old article on what is the cause of chickenpox from 1981. And the thing I wanted to mention, so that what's the theme that I was saying that we're going to continue? And I think this is so important for understanding the whole scam of so-called infectious diseases. And I've shown the slide about how when they want to create a pandemic or epidemic or something, one of those kind of things, they lump all the diseases that have similar symptoms and signs into one. And then when they want to say that the epidemic or pandemic is resolved or lessening, usually because of a vaccine, they then call that one disease into a whole bunch of other ones. And that's the sort of scam that they're running. So this caught my attention because this was a quote that sort of exemplifies that. So, in a study exemplifying both brevity in experimental design and brilliance in execution, Fenner delineated the pathogenesis of acute exanthems. That's febrile rashes, febrile diseases that have skin rashes. So he lumped together the human diseases of smallpox, chickenpox, measles, and rubella. That's called German measles, because of the similarities in clinical presentation after a relatively long incubation period, even though etiologically these diseases are caused by a diverse group of DNA and RNA viruses, and then they list the virus. Now, the important thing I wanted to mention here, and the thing that caught my eye, is the whole reason for this study was these diseases that Fenner is studying and trying to find the cause of, smallpox, chickenpox, measles, German measles, are so similar in clinical presentation. In other words, the signs and symptoms, in other words, the experience that the child has, that nobody can actually tell them apart. So that creates a dilemma for the practitioner who's attempting to try to tell them apart and to determine which one of these the child has, because by looking at them and hearing their story, there's no way to figure that out. It's so interesting to me. I keep saying this, but I still remember hearing this in medical school. I graduated in 1984, so not much after this article was written. And they would show us different pictures of these different diseases. And of course, at the extremes, they look different. But the sort of mild or moderate cases, they all look the same to me. And I can remember being on the verge of like raising my hand and saying, I don't really see the difference here. But of course, that would have been frowned upon, because then you would have admit you're ignorant and you can't see what's in front of your eyes, even though I can guarantee that everybody in the room was thinking the same thing. And somehow we all managed to think we were the stupid ones, and we couldn't see that these rashes that really looked identical somehow were different. So anyways, this guy selected an animal model, and then he selected a certain virus called mousepox, and then he did some unnatural things like injected some of this mousepox virus, which of course wasn't a virus at all, but a broken down cell culture, through abraded skin, and then he got some symptoms, and then he was able to say, this is now mouthpox. So this brilliant executed scientific design was basically nonsense. But the point is, the whole reason he had to do it was because nobody can tell these diseases apart, which is exactly what I was saying.